YouTube, what's happening with it? Start off by saying you gotta excuse me. I'm on this 34-hour reset. Lazy day for me right now. 28 degrees outside. But I'm in here toasty. Nice and warm in the truck. But now I'm making this video as a response to a viewer. He commented on my last video pretty much asking if I had any advice to give to a new driver coming in the industry. I figured everybody who might be in his or her same shoes can benefit from anything I got to say. Everything I'm going to say is based off of my own experiences. And there's like hundreds of other channels out there that I'm sure anybody can get advice from. And the one thing I like about all these other channels is everybody's going to have something different to say. They may say a lot of the same stuff, but 9 times out of 10 there's always going to be something different that they add to it. Because I went down that same road. I looked at a bunch of videos from different YouTube channels, and everyone has something different to say, and every little thing that was different, I added that to everything that I kept to use for myself. But to answer the question, you know, any advice I would give to somebody coming in new in the industry, do a lot of research. Whether you coming in to pull a flatbed, pull a dry van, or whatever the case may be, research every company you think about going to. You know, I'm not just talking about looking at their company page, you know, Facebook page, none of that. Talk to actual people that got the experiences, whether you're looking at forums, or more importantly, in my opinion, the best option, actually going out to the truck stops and talking to people with whatever company you might be considering going to. And you got to talk to more than one person with whatever company you're going to, because every person has different experiences. You know, you might end up talking to one guy who's been with the company 12 years or whatever, and all he has is something negative to say. Well, there's not a lot of loads. I'm always sitting around wasting time because I can never get good loads. Well, 9 times out of 10, that person not getting any good loads because that driver is turning down loads all the time because he may not want to go to a certain part of the country. Load might be 900, 1,000, 1,200 miles, and he turned it down. So if that driver's turning out a good run, which is going to put money in his pocket, then that dispatcher or that fleet manager is not going to want to give him that kind of load no more. So he's sitting. Or you can find another driver who has nothing but positive things to say. You know, because when you get into this kind of industry, the job is what you make out of it. You get whatever you put into it, you know. But talk to a lot of different drivers. Research. Because that's what I had to do. You know, when I was with that last company I was with, before I went with them, you know, I considered a lot of different companies. You know, U.S. Express, Werner, KLLM, or whatever the name of it was. Quite a few before I decided to go with Rail, which was the last company. But yeah, do your research. That's what it's all about, networking, talking to different people. And then once you get with whatever company you're going to go with, don't just stop there. Keep talking. Talk to different drivers at the terminals. Talk to people whenever you get the orientation. Get all their experiences. And then once you get into a truck with a trainer out there for a week or two or whatever it is, learn as much as you can from them, because everybody's experiences are different. Everybody has different methods on how they do certain things, you know. So by the time you get into your own truck, you have something that you can work off of. And then you can take whatever that is and make it your own. As a new driver, once you do get into that truck, you got to, more importantly, make sure that you mentally prepare yourself to I'm not going to say change your life, but this is not a regular 9 to 5. This is not a regular job. It's not a job at all. It's a lifestyle. And if you got significant others, they got to be on the same page. You know, it's not that hard for me because I did time in the military with 2 deployments under my belt and training time in different states. You know, 30 or 40 days at a time or whatever. But they have to be on the same page because this kind of job, this kind of lifestyle can make or break relationships and marriages. They really can. So if you got significant others, they got to be on the same page as you. You know, you got to come into this job full speed ahead. And that's coming from personal experience as well. I mean, when I was with that last company, I was out 11 to 14 days at a time. And the money was decent, but it could have been a lot more if I stayed out longer. You know, I mean, don't come into this kind of career thinking that you're gonna be able to get home all the time, because the more time you spend at home and that truck not moving, the less money you make. And because, you know, and everybody knows that saying, if the wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning. And that's true. As long as that truck is sitting still, there ain't no money coming in. So, you know, I pretty much do about 3 weeks out now to get as much as I can before I decide to go home. And that's like the average, 3 to 4 weeks. You got drivers that'll stay out there for months, and that's cool on them. That's on them. But I would honestly 3 to 4 weeks. Me, I just do 3, and that's to get the most out of, you know, a couple of weeks before I take that last week to start routing myself back home. Another thing is managing your money, because, you know, when them checks start to come in, it's easy to spend it, but the whole purpose of you being out here is to make it. And it was hard for me to kind of grasp that concept when I first started driving, because, you know, I used to go out there and buy this and buy that, and I realized the reason why I was spending a lot of money is because I spent a lot of time at truck stops. Now, I'm not saying I'm spending time when I should be driving. It's like, you know, on my 10-hour breaks, if I'm at a truck stop, 9 times out of 10, I'm walking inside that building 3 and 4 times a day. And I realized the more I stay here, taking my breaks, the more I'm going to spend. So, you know, I try to minimize my time at any truck stop, whether it's a major chain, you know, one of the big 5, or a little small mom and pop local shop. You know, if I stop, it's to take a shower, grab, you know, restock on maybe some drinks or something like that. But for the most part, if I need to get food or drink or something like that, that's the only thing I come here for. And then I'll go to a rest area to take my 10-hour break. 34-hour reset, yes, I'm going to use the truck stop. But that's just to have the amenities as far as showers and all that kind of thing. Now, usually before I even leave home, I try to stock up on as much as I can from the house, Walmart, whatever the case is, so I'm not spending too much money every single week, every day or whatever on food. Because the food at these truck stops is expensive. Like me, I love meat, whether it's chicken, steak, ribs, whatever. And I'm telling you right now, an 8-piece with just chicken at Popeyes at a TA, it's like $15. Nah. Nope. Get some chicken at home and put it in a cooler or whatever and heat it up in the little microwave at the truck stop. Because it's easy to spend a lot of money out here, but you're supposed to be out here making it. Another thing, time management. You know, learn your hours of service. You know, you only get so many hours to drive a day. And if you got a good paying load that's, you know, running you 2 or 3 days to get there, you may be able to get there quicker than that. That don't mean take your time. Run that load. Be smart about how you spend your hours. You know, you know, it's not, you know, when you get out here on this road, I mean, I'm not talking about stopping every hour and a half just because of the truck stop on the way. Just because you just have to get out Because 9 times out of 10, like I said about the money thing, you pull into that truck stop, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go in there and buy something. And you probably got a truck full of drinks and snacks already, and food. And with the way a lot of these truck stops is now, especially Pilots and Flying J's, notoriously, I mean, in my opinion, they're known for being small. And people don't like to park to go inside for whatever reason. They'll park at the pump. I don't care if they pull forward to the line or not. They park at the pump and spend 30 minutes inside the truck stop. And it's stuff like that that gets the truck stop backed up all the way out to the road sometimes, depending on how the truck stop is laid out. So that's another thing that'll kill your time. If you got to stop every hour and a half, 2 hours, and then it takes you another 30 or 45 minutes just to get back out of the truck stop because it's backed up. You know, manage your time. Learn, you know, when you get out there, like, you know, anytime I pick up a load, this is another topic. Anytime I pick up a load, I'm looking at my route before I leave to make sure that my truck can go down every route, every street from point A to point B, especially when you start getting closer to whatever warehouse you're picking up or dropping off at. You know, I look at the satellite view on Google Maps and make sure that the entrance to the docks or whatever is on the right street. I don't want to turn down certain streets because there's some warehouses that don't even have signs out, you know, shipping, receiving this way. You won't see that. So I look at Google Maps to make sure that I'm going to end up turning on the right street. You know, weight limits. Make sure that, you know, you got to use a map or whatever it is. Get your little atlas or whatever, a little Rand McNally thing, and make sure that whatever streets you go in don't have restrictions. Because you're going to see a lot of that when you get closer to little cities or whatever. Make sure that you're not going to go across no bridge that got a weight limit that you can't be on. Make sure you're not going to go down the street that got a bridge that's clearance is lower than your trailer. Burn that in your memory. 13 feet 6 inches, the standard height for a trailer, a dry van. Because I done been in situations where I turned on the street and the bridge is like 12.3. Luckily, I had enough room to do a U-turn in a road. You might not be so lucky. You end up backing down the road 2 miles or more. Or in worst case scenario, you sitting there with your hazards on. You got to call law enforcement or whatever to stop traffic so you can back up. That's time wasted and money spent. You know, so look at all that kind of stuff before you get on the road. Axle weights on your truck. You pull into a receiver, you get loaded, or a shipper, and you get loaded. You look at the bills on that load. In my opinion, if that load is over 35,000 pounds, I'm pulling into the nearest truck stop to weigh it. Because the last thing you want to do, because I've been down this road once, is pull into a scale at a weigh station, and your drives or your tandems, in some cases even the steers, is overweight. Because if you pull on that scale without knowing what the weight of your truck is loaded, and one of your axles is overweight, then you might as well go ahead and take that loss. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna proceed back on that interstate. You're gonna be sitting over there with the rest of them trucks that's parked on the side, walking inside with paperwork. Luckily, in my case, that DOT officer was nice enough to let me pull over and slide my tandems and then go back on the scale, and I was good to go. Kept going. You know, you might not be so lucky. So know how much you weigh before you get too far down the interstate. Even if that means you got to backtrack the other way on the interstate because that truck stop may be closer, do it. I'd rather waste 10, 15, 20 minutes out of my time going the other way to get reweighed before, you know, after leaving a shipper, or, you know, before I try to go down the road on my trip. And because you might get into a shipper, you get loaded, and you get back on the interstate, and a weigh station is 10 miles down the road, and the next truck stop may be 15 minutes down the road, but there's a truck stop the other way backtracking that's 5 miles down the road. Know what you weigh before you leave, before you pull into a weigh station and end up in a bad situation, you know. But you know, that's some of the major things that, you know, I can think of off the top of my head, because this is all coming off the top of my head right now. I didn't write none of this down. And you know, a couple of other things, especially if you ever decide to get into your own truck. I'm not saying you got to do a full-blown CDL pre-trip that you do when you get your license, but I'm not, you know, when you're doing a pre-trip on your truck, I'm not just saying do a walk around and make sure ain't nothing leaking. You got to get under there and touch on some stuff. The two biggest expenses for a truck: fuel and tires. I can tell you right now, them drives and them tandems, you can have a flat on one of them and you won't know it. You know, get under there and look at that tire. You know, get under there with get down there with a tire gauge and check the air pressure in them, because you can have one that's low and one that's not. And I'm gonna tell you right now, a tire that's underinflated or overinflated is gonna wear out, and you'll be on the side of the road with a blowout. I've been driving with a blowout and didn't even know it until I looked in my mirror and seen smoke everywhere. I thought my junk was on fire. You know, every day, pre-trip, post-trip, check your tires. Make sure there's nothing leaking. Pop the hood. Look at everything. You know, check all the lights on your truck. You can have a clearance light out on the back, and you get that right DOT officer that pulls you over, and he can give you a citation for something as small as that. Check everything. You know. One thing that I was never dinged on, but I got my truck inspected, because, you know, here where I'm at now, you know, you have to have an inspection done every 120 days, I believe. I had a tag light out on my trailer. It's a company trailer, but the tag light was out. So they ended up putting a new tag light on for me. And I didn't know it was out, because daytime I don't really ever run my lights on in the daytime, ever. So I didn't know. And of course, I normally don't run my truck at night. I'm normally on my 10-hour by that time, so lights is off anyway. But check everything. Now, the other thing I was talking about was fuel management. If you ever decide to get into your own truck and you're starting out, you get that company truck, start treating that truck as if it's your own truck. Take care of it. Fuel management, you know, one of my biggest things I kind of regret when I was a company driver was my mentality was, the truck's not mine. The fuel, I'm not paying for it. So I used to run that truck. I used to put, my foot would be to the floor, and I would run that truck until that speedometer pegs out at whatever the truck's governed at, whether it's 60, 62, 65, 68, whatever it's governed at. And I would run that truck at that speed until I ran out into my next fuel stop. You know, and that was a habit. And then when I pull into that truck stop, I swipe that fuel card they gave me, and I fill them tanks up. Never even looked at the fuel, the fuel pump to see how much I put in and what it cost. I didn't look at none of that. So, as a company driver starting out, yes, it doesn't affect you financially because it's not your truck and it's not your money. But if you treat that truck like it's your own, and you know you run that truck at 55, 62, 57 or whatever, you're running kind of slow, but you're saving yourself money. You're saving. The same practices you use as an owner-operator is the same practices that companies use. Think about it. As an owner-operator, I run my truck at a decent speed because the faster I drive, the more money comes out of my pocket. As a company driver, the faster you drive, the more money comes out of the company's pocket. You don't see that money, but you see the back end of it. If you run that truck in a respectful way, that's going to save the company money 9 times out of 10. A lot of companies now are performance-based. Meaning, if you can save money on fuel mileage, and you know, you get all these other little perks, like a few extra cents per mile or whatever the case may be. It all comes back in one way, shape, or form. So if you run that truck like it's your own, if you ever get into the position to get into your own truck, it's going to help you out from the start, from day one. Because it was hard for me. You know, it took a long time for me to realize that. And, you know, I'm not going to say it took a long time. Let me rephrase that. It didn't take a long time for me to realize that the faster I drove, the more money came out of my pocket. So, that's another thing. If I come up with any other questions, I'll add another video as a continuation of this one. If y'all have any comments, questions, or whatever, comment below. Please subscribe. And, yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video.